Court of Thorns and Roses. It is a series that has been beloved by so many people. But the question is it worth the read? I read the first book, but I never finished the series. And I think after years and years, it is finally time to read the whole series to see if it's worth it. So join me on this quest as we finally read ACOTAR for the very first time to see if it is worth all the hype that it gets. Let's go. So the time has come. We are reading A Court of Thorns and Roses for the third time. And I know I should have made this video when I first started it for the third time, but I'm actually already 100 pages in, and honestly, it's going really well. For some reason, I noticed how slow the pacing was, and I don't know if it's because I read a lot of books this month that were very slow paced, so I'm noticing how slow the pacing is in this one. And Feyre this time around is a little bit more annoying. Or maybe there's just things that I didn't notice the first couple of times that I read it. And so I'm at the part where she is trying to send letters to her sisters or whatever. And obviously she doesn't know how to like read or write really well. That's where I'm at. We just passed the Naga part. Hello, we are back with the Court of Thorns and Roses review. So like I said before, I have read this book 3 different times now, and I listened to it on audio with like the full cast. And tell me why every single time I read this book, I picture Amarantha as Helena Bonham Carter. The way that she is really reminds me of how she played Queen of Hearts in the Alice in Wonderland series. So I just picture her as Amarantha. I don't know. That is just who I see. That is just who I see. And then Rhysand, after watching Howl's Moving Castle, now I see Rhysand as like the guy from Howl's Moving Castle. He just reminds me of him so much. The fact that he has wings and he's like this like dark raven person sort of thing. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Okay, but overall, let's get back to the review. This is going to be a spoiler review. When Feyre turns into a high fae, or when they drop little like sparkles of her, it made me think of like the Beauty and the Beast Disney movie, where like the beast suddenly turns into a human and then like all these little like sparkles like add to him and then he turns human. That's what it reminded me of. I overall really enjoyed this story. Once again, reading it for the 3rd time. I like how it picks up towards the end. I really like Sarah J. Maas's writing. I love it. It really just seemed like she sat there, watched Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and was like, bet I'm gonna make this and make it fae. And she just took all these inspirations from it, but somehow made it its own original tale, and it was just so... It's just so good. Like, it's just so good. Feyre does get a little bit annoying at parts. Like, she's like, okay, girl, like, calm down. You know, like, I get it. You're stubborn. I get it. But stop being annoying. You know what I mean? But overall, I really did enjoy it. Rhysand, I have a love-hate relationship for Rhysand. He can be a bit toxic, but in a way that's like, I can fix you. And the fact that I realized that he calls Feyre darling. How did I not notice that he called her darling before? Probably because I never paid attention to darling until, again, Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. And now darling just has a whole new meaning to me. Because now I even find myself saying darling. And I loved that. So again, reading it for the 3rd time, 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to move on to A Court of Mist and Fury. Actually, let me go grab it because this one I am going to be reading physically. Finally getting to this bad boy, A Court of Mist and Fury. I am so excited. I've heard that this one is like the best one of the series because she has to spend 2 weeks with Rhysand in the Night Court, right? And she's from the Spring Court and she's with Tamlin in the Spring Court. Tell me this is not Hades and Persephone. Please tell me that this is not Hades and Persephone. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. The first one was Beauty and the Beast, this is Hades and Persephone. I already know. And I know what Tamlin does to her because people like to spoil things on Booktok. So I feel like that Tamlin very much takes the place of Persephone's mom, Demeter, when like she tries to lock Persephone away and keep her from Hades. That's what I think is like going to happen. That's the vibes that I get. So we'll see how this goes.
Hi, hello. So I am actually 108 pages into A Court of Mist and Fury by Miss Sarah J. Maas, and I am so freaking angry at Tamlin. Like the way that he treats Feyre, like she's like this delicate flower and not the badass that she actually is, who literally, I feel like she's super powerful. Like the fact that she got like these little powers from each High Lord, and I feel like she got a little bit more than she had expected, and it's already starting to manifest. I feel like she's stronger than Tamlin, and I feel like he doesn't want her to know that. But I feel like Rhysand is like telling her like, dude, you have potential, let me help you, I am not the bad guy here. And Tamlin's just treating her like she's this object, and it's like really pissing me off. It's really pissing me off. And the fact that she doesn't see that, I mean, she's starting to see it now, but like not fast enough. It's like, girl, wake the fudge up, wake up. He's a D word, he's a DICKs. This mother effer locked her up in the house, and that Eonth biatch, I don't like her. I hate her. I hate her. But I do like Morgan. Morgan seems really cool and really like badass.
I'm crying, okay? This book got me. I am 528 pages into A Court in Mist and Fury, and literally one page away from chapter 55, which I know is known as the hot soup chapter. But Rhysand is telling Feyre about like their mating bond. And he says, it killed me, Feyre, to send you back. I knew I was in love with you. That moment I picked up the knife to kill Amarantha. This is so beautiful. When Feyre stabbed the adder, I was like, yes, queen, slay queen, you kill that man thing, queen. And please, am I the only one that literally pictures the adder as like Vlad from Horden Hears a Who? Please tell me I'm not the only one. But then when I looked up fan art, I was like, oh no, he looks more like Dracula from Van Helsing. Anyways, that part, iconic. Holy shiznit. It reminded me so much of like Aelin, Selena Sardothien from like Throne of Glass. And also I have my period, so my fiance ended up getting me A Court of Silver Flames. And he also got me Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because he always gets me a book when I'm on my period, because he says it's to prevent me from killing him in his sleep. Anyways, so good. Like it literally, oh, this is fantastic. Oh, so good. And so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. What a fudging way to end the book. Holy sweet ravioli. Sarah J. Maas knows how to end it on a cliffhanger that has you like, that was so good. That was so good. I need to compose myself. Oh my god. And Lucian is Elaine's.
Alright, so we are back with a review of A Court of Mist and Fury by Miss Sarah J. Maas. Yes, we are. So, as you can see, I annotated this because it was so beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna do a whole review and then we're gonna get into the spoiler talk because there's just so much that I need to say. I can't believe that I waited this long to read this book. I think it was just like the size, the thickness, the heftiness of it that I was like, If you guys don't know, A Court of Mist and Fury, specifically book 2, follows Feyre as she is now about to marry Tamlin, and she still has this deal going on with Rhysand, who is like the High Lord of the Night Court, and she is wondering because it's been like 3 months and she's like, when is he gonna come get me? Is he not gonna come get me? And Feyre is not happy at Tamlin's court. She finds that she is not a happy girl. She is not a happy girl. She does not like being told what to do. She does not like being told like she does not like being treated like she's just a little trophy and like she can't do anything for herself. Like she didn't just effing beat all of Amaranth's tasks. Like she did not just prove that she literally has more courage than her effing fiance. No, Feyre is treated like she is, you know, a little trophy girl, and like the only job is for her to get married and like push out babies, and Feyre's not having that. She is not happy with that, but she is hesitant on voicing that because she's like, I got everything that I wanted. We are freed from this evil queen. What is going on? What is wrong with can I not just be happy? And then the day of her wedding day comes around and she is literally pleading like, hey, I need to get out of here. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. And she's walking to the altar and here comes Rhysand and he's like, hey, perfect timing. I'm gonna take you now. And thus the story ensues and we follow Feyre as she goes to the Night Court, and obviously the Night Court is not what she expected. Then we find Valaris, the city of starlight, and there's just so much in this story. There's so many new characters that I absolutely fell in love with. One, Morgan. I loved Morgan, who I saw in my head as Morgan is not at all like how she was described, but in my mind it felt right. And in my mind, who I saw as Morgan was that girl from Squid Games, the girl that played like 67 or whatever her name. Yeah, I saw her. And then we have Amren, and her I saw as like Selma Hayek in my head. This is my fan cast, okay, you guys? This is who I saw in my head. It's just, it was amazing. It was amazing. I had such a fun time. And I found the first like half of this book was dragging on. I felt like the pacing was very inconsistent. I felt like it was getting really, really good. And it was, I literally just saw a crow like fall to their death. What happened? Was he like attacked? How fitting. What the Anyways, sorry, what the hell did I just see out my window? That is so weird. This is not a spoiler for the first book because obviously if you have read the second book and you know what happens in the first book, Feyre dies. Okay, Feyre dies and she is reanimated or turned into a fae, and she gets like each of the powers from these like high lords, and seeing her step into those powers was amazing. And I liked it, but I felt like the pacing was very inconsistent. But then we have the second half of the book, and then the pacing went from like 0 to 100 like this. Oh my gosh, like I get it. The first 300 pages were world building, character building. We were getting all these new characters, all these new places that we were seeing, and I understood the pacing of it. It was slow, but it needed to be there. And then the other 300 pages was like, all right, now that you know where we are, who these people are, let's work on this. Let's build this plot and let's like take it to the whole next level. And that it did. The last 300 pages, it was where we really started to see Rhysand and Feyre's relationship happen. Their relationship wasn't really a focus too much until, I want to say at least like page 250 or so, and that's when they started to really communicate and like start to like have that like funny banter, and that's when that tension started to build. So even though it did take like 400, 500 pages for them to like, you know, get together, it was, a lot of that was like plot building, and then we didn't really get that fun banter between them till like page like 250 to like 300. But once we did, it was amazing, okay? The chapter 55, if you know chapter 55. The hot soup chapter, it is going in my hall of fame of like favorite smut scenes right after Xaden and Violet's smut scene in Fourth Wing. This is number 2 because the paint, the mate, the chapter 54, what was right before it, and I was in tears because of the things that this man was saying, and I was like, why do men like not talk like this in real life? It was amazing. Okay, this book was so good. I definitely have given it 5 out of 5 stars, and the ending, jaw to the floor. I was shooketh how it ended. What a cliffhanger. I am so excited to just jump into the 3rd one in the series that is literally staring at me. So this was everything. Let's talk about the spoilers. I know I have not read the other ones, but tell me why I have a feeling that Morrigan is gonna die. And do you know why? The reason why I think that Morrigan is going to die is because Asriel and Cassian, I know they end up having like a thing for Nesta, but right now they have a thing for Morrigan. So, okay, I'm like, is Morrigan like gonna not be around, and that's why they focus their eyes on Nesta? I have a feeling that Cassian is Nesta's mate for sure. Like, I already see that. But Asriel having an interest in Nesta as well, I feel like Morgan would have to like step out of the picture in order for that to happen. So we have that like love triangle thing going on. Sarah J. Maas and her love triangles, man. Like, she loves doing that. Yeah, I loved the love story. The love story was amazing. It was great. Yes, it was a fun time. But I need that war. I want to see the action. I loved that scene with like the Rainbow Bridge, and like Feyre just went freaking ham on all those soldiers. I need more of that. I need more action. Give me more action. Give me more war. And that is all. That is all. Let's move on to A Court of Wings and Ruin. Yes, A Court of Wings and Ruin. Let's go. All right, so I'm here to give you my first impressions on A Court of Wings and Ruin, also known as ACOWAR. To be honest, this is supposed to be my first impressions. Like, I'm literally only supposed to be about 50 to 100 pages into this book, and this book sucked me in right away. I am literally almost 200 pages into this book, and I am obsessed. For everybody that said that ACOMAF, the second book, is the best, have you read the third? Like, am I in the minority here? Because this book, like, I feel like A Court of Mist and Fury took me a while to actually get into. It took me a while for the pace to really like build. Versus A Court of Wings and Ruin, I feel like you're right there. You're right there. Like, right away, you are like strapped into the action as you see Feyre go in and infiltrate the Spring Court from the inside outwards, and just to see her character growth, just to see how much she's grown from book 1 and book 2 and now book 3 is just amazing. Like, I love seeing how much she's truly grown. Versus, like, I feel like a lot of other fantasy books, not a lot, but for example, like Fourth Wing, I feel like our main character, Violet, started off very strong in the first book, and then the second book she kind of regressed. And in this one, I feel like we see Feyre's consistently growing. We see her as she was a human, and then she became Fae. She has this hard time like really realizing that she unalived people, and she is to blame for that, and she is guilty over it. And then this one, while it still impacts her, it doesn't stop her. It doesn't hinder her. And now she can unalive people, especially the people that deserve it, without any like remorse. And I love it. And I am here for it. I am here for seeing Feyre turn into this complete badass. Like, she is amazing. Like, she sees her strength. She literally lives into the whole, I am the high lady, okay? And you will respect me. And she is, you guys, I'm obsessed with Feyre. Like, she's the best. Like, she is the best. I really am enjoying Feyre in this story. Nesta, I am in that scene where they're having like dinner and Nesta is there. She's in the House of Wind, and she's just very infuriating. Like, I just don't see, why are you so annoying? Like, why are you such a biatch? Like, why are you acting like that? Like, there is no reason for you to act like that. Even Feyre has been through shiznit too. In fact, she probably wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for Feyre hunting and all that stuff. So why is she such a biatch? Like, I cannot stand Nesta. And the fact that she has a whole book dedicated to her, I hope that she really grows on me, because as of right now, I cannot stand Nesta. I cannot stand Nesta. So, but I am enjoying this. That is my first update. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am obsessed. Like, I am obsessed. Like, I am loving this more than the second book even. The pacing is a lot faster, and I'm loving it. I'm loving Feyre become more badass. I'm loving Feyre really, like, you really start to see her powers now. You really see how she is getting the hang of like her powers, versus like book 2, she's barely starting to learn how to use them. She knows how to use them now. She knows how to use them well. Bravo, bravo. I'm obsessed. Let's talk about this book, okay? Because I am now 403 pages in, so I'm a little bit past the halfway mark, and this book is so good. I am wondering how they're going to do this, because from what I know, Feyre's story ends with the next one, which is a Court of Frost and Starlight, and this is too tiny to contain a war. So I'm like, is the war going to be contained in here, or are we going to have to follow Nesta to follow the war? I don't know what's going to happen, but as of right now, I am obsessed. I am obsessed. The fact that we find out like Elaine's powers, the fact that we see like that Nesta took something from the cauldron and she might even be more powerful than Feyre, my jaw is like on the floor. I am literally screaming, crying. War hasn't happened. So I'm like, dude, what is going to happen? Like, I am hoping that the war isn't like the last 100 pages. And I am kind of scared because I don't want to read the war from Nesta's point of view, because I'm not a big fan of Nesta. So I'm scared right now, you guys. I'm scared right now. We will see the banter between, you know, the whole Night Court family, like Mor, Cassian, Azriel. I love the banter between them. I don't remember hearing too much of Mor's character, and I know that she's tied to both Azriel and Cassian, so I'm scared that something's going to happen to Mor, because I really love Mor. I don't want anything to happen to her. There's just so many questions that I have, and like every answer that we keep getting just leads to me having more questions. Like, what is happening here? Like, are we gonna get the war in here? What is happening? I'm scared. I'm scared. Alright, so I am officially finished with A Court of Wings and Ruin by Miss Sarah J. Maas, book 3 in the ACOTAR series. And I swear, you guys, each book just keeps getting better and better. Like, the first book was great. The second book, the second half was like epic. And this whole thing, the whole thing had me hooked. All 700 pages of this sucked me in, and I was there. I was along for the ride. I was obsessed. This book was so good. Oh my gosh. So in book 3, we follow Feyre as she goes back to Tamlin's court, and she basically infiltrates his court from the inside out and like rips it apart. And from the very beginning, I could not pry my eyes away from what Feyre was doing. It was like total badass energy. Like, the whole two-faced thing that she had going on, she was invincible. Oh my gosh, like, Feyre gripped me. I was obsessed with Feyre in this story. She had such a way to, like, the fact that she could two-time Tamlin like that, because she was that She wanted revenge that bad and that desperately. It had me hooked. I was engaged the entire time. This one was very consistent with its pacing. I felt like it was very fast-paced, had me at the edge of my seat at the whole time. And there was times where I was laughing. There was times where I was bawling. There was times where I was literally screaming, like pounding my fists and literally shouting at the top of my lungs because it made me feel everything. It made me feel all these emotions, and I absolutely love when books grasp you like that because it's very rare. It's very rare. Coming from like a reader, like I read consistently and books rarely do this to me. Like I can count like on 2 hands, not one, but 2 hands, how many books have gripped me in such a way that like I literally feel not only like I'm a part of the story, but I literally know these characters as if they're my own friends, as if they're my own family, like deeply feel their feelings, deeply feel their emotions. And the fact that this book was able to do that and invoke such strong emotions from me was just amazing. Like this book had me engaged the entire way. And I honestly, like, I don't know why people say that ACOMAF, the second book, is the best one when I personally think that the third one is. Yes, it's not as romance heavy as the second one. I felt like the second one really focused on Feyre and Rhysand's relationship, whereas the third one were finally focused on the war. And I loved that. Like, you still get the romance bits in there, but I feel like all the questions that we've had along the entire ride, they're finally being answered in this one. You see this epic war that literally has pretty much, like, we knew it was coming from the very first book up until now, and now it's here, and it was just so great. Like, it was just so great. It was amazing. The only problem, the only issue that I had with this book is probably the fact that I wish that Feyre had been a little bit more involved in the war. I feel like Feyre like learned how to train in the second book, and I felt like it was all for a reason, you know, like we saw Feyre get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we see her fight and you be able to grasp and use her powers. And now, spoiler alert, in the third one, she actually is able to talk to, there's a hummingbird outside. Aww. Anyways, sorry, that's so rare. I never really see hummingbirds. We see Feyre like use her abilities, and like spoiler alert, like all the other High Lords of the court realizes that she is able to harness a little bit of their powers. So knowing that, I thought we were going to be able to see Feyre get to see her use those abilities in the war. So I felt like that was a opportunity that didn't happen. That sort of fell flat. But other than that, this book had me obsessed. And I was hooked from the very beginning to the very end. I finished it in a matter of days. Like in 4 days, I finished a 700-page book. I don't know when I've ever done that. So far, this is now my favorite read of 2023 as of right now, and I've read 27 books so far. 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 5 stars. So far, this is my favorite one in the series. So let's go ahead and pick up A Frost and Starlight.
I am not ready to let Feyre go. Like, I don't know how it's gonna be switching main characters, but I'm not ready to let go of Feyre and Rhysand's story, just because even though their romance is complete, there's still so much possibility with the plot, and I'm just not afraid, and like I'm not ready to let them go. Like, I'm not ready to let them go, but we shall see. the last little novella. We'll see how fast I can get through this. The font is a lot bigger than the other books actually, so I think I could finish this pretty quick. So I might even finish this today. But I'm sad. I'm sad to see Feyre go. I don't want to be in Nesta's point of view.
Alright, you guys, so I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know if I did an update for A Court of Frost and Starlight, because honestly, I read this so quickly because it's so tiny compared to all the other books. So I read this so fast, so I'm not even sure if I did a update, and if I didn't, I'm sorry, but I have a review for you on A Court of Frost and Starlight. Now, this one, the fourth book, I don't know if it's considered the fourth book or like 3.5, is the finale to Feyre's story. I loved it. And I loved it. And this one, we kind of saw Feyre finally get everything that she asked for. In the previous books, we see once she's with Rhysand, she has this whole dream of what she wants to do for the rest of her elongated immortal life. And we finally see her starting to fulfill that within this book. There's not too much that goes on. And I heard that you can skip this one. However, I do feel like it is important to the story, especially going into A Court of Silver Flames, because we're switching POVs from Feyre's to Nesta's, and this kind of prepares you for that, because in books 1 through 3 we follow first person and we follow Feyre with like, I did this and I did that. And starting with this one, you no longer get first person, you get a third person point of view. So continuing on in the series, I know A Court of Silver Flames is told through third person, and this kind of prepares you for that. It preps you for that, and it also preps you with the fact that Nesta's going through some things. The trauma's finally hitting her of everything that's happened to her. And although I still cannot stand Nesta, like she was winning me over in A Court of Wings and Ruin after she did that thing, you know, to the king. After she did all that, I was like, all right, you go, girl. And then I read this one, and now I'm like backwards, and I'm like, oh, I don't like you, Nesta. I don't like you again. And so we'll see. But that being said, I still think it's a good preparation for A Court of Silver Flames, so I don't recommend that you skip this one. This book was beautiful. It was cute. Nothing too intense happens. I literally loved the last few lines where Feyre and Rhysand speak to each other. It's not like a giveaway or anything, so I am going to go ahead and read them to you. And it says, "To the stars who listen, Feyre, to the dreams that are answered, Rhys." And it was just so beautiful, and something that I was hoping would happen, happened, at least kind of, which is spoiler right here, so if you want to skip over this. The fact that Feyre finally wants to have a child, or try to have a child with Rhysand. Like, I don't know. Unexpected pregnancies, I don't know how I feel about them, but in this one, it's not unexpected. Like, they're planning it out, and I'm excited for that. Like, I want that for them, you know? Like, I want them to have that, and it's just so beautiful. It was a beautiful conclusion. This one, because it wasn't, like, so intense and crazy and fast-paced, like, I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I can see why it can be a little bit shocking to some people to switch from first person point of view over to third person, and we do follow a multitude of characters instead of just Feyre. We follow like Cassian and Morgan and Rhysand and Nesta. Sarah J. Maas did it so that we can become prepared for A Court of Silver Flames. I'm not sure why she switched from first person to third person when it comes to the next book, but it might just be so that we don't confuse Feyre and Nesta. I'm not sure. So we shall see how I feel about that one, because as of right now, I personally still have no empathy, have no positive emotions towards Nesta at the moment. So we shall see. So now let's go ahead and start with this big honker, A Court of Silver Flames. Alright, you guys, so reading update time. So I am now on page 231 in A Court of Silver Flame. I still, even though we're 230 pages, and mind you, I do understand that this book is like 750 something pages, but 230 pages in, like, I want to say we're at least a good 20% in, and I still for the life of me cannot stand Nesta. Nesta is such an infuriating character, and right when I think like she's gonna have a redeemable quality, she does something that like really pisses me off again, and then I don't like her again. So far I am not enjoying the main character. I'm not enjoying Nesta at all. And when there's a book and I don't like the main character, it's very hard for me to enjoy the story and enjoy my reading time. So the only time where I'm happy is when we see Feyre and when we see Rhysand. That's the only times where I'm having a good time, but the fact that we're following Nesta so much, I don't like it. I don't like it. Like, right, like she does certain things that I'm like, okay, she's getting better, and then she does something to piss me off again, like when she goes off on Elaine for no reason. I'm like, why are you like this? You know what I mean? And the fact that she blames everyone, she's such a bratty character. She blames everyone for her suffering but herself, and it's like, dude, take responsibility, especially how you're the older sister. Just act like it. Act like it, you know? Like, she didn't even go through that much. Feyre went through way worse, and she didn't treat her sisters like that. Do you get what I mean? Like, you got shoved in a cauldron. Okay. Okay. And so did your sister, but she's not acting like you. And Feyre dealt with so much worse, plus everything that you went through, and on top of that, a whole bunch of more. And she didn't act like that. And I understand that everybody's different, but Nesta from the very beginning, from the very first book, has irked me the wrong way, just because she was so bratty and like bitchy, and I just always hated her. And still 230 pages in, and she still is irking me, and I am not having a good time. So we are done. We are finished with A Court of Silver Flames. And I have to say, all in all, this book was great. This book was great. I thought that I was going to give this book like 3 stars because I didn't like Nesta, and she just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and she just kept pushing people away, and she just kept doing horrible things, and I'm like, I hate this woman. I hate this woman. And then about page 550-ish or so, around there, 550 pages in, is when she really started to grow on me, because we learned things about her. We learned why she is the way she is, and then she really made that effort to change, and that's when I was like, okay, this is great. And then things picked up from there. Once I started liking Nesta, the whole story started getting a lot better for me, because when I don't like a main character, it's really hard for me to get sucked into the story. And we didn't get too much of a break with Cassian in between, because I know it switches POVs sometimes between Cassian and Nesta, but it was so focused on Nesta throughout the story that it was hard for me to want to give it more than a 3-star when I really, really despise Nesta. So after 550 pages, when Nesta was finally making that willingness to change, that's when I decided, okay, you know what? This is great. Yeah, this is good. This is good. So it took a while, and then after that, it just took off. I don't know what it is about Sarah J. Maas's books that seems to be like a constant thing that she does, is like the first big chunk of it will be like world building or character building, and then like the last like quarter it takes off, and then it's just like non-stop fast-pacedness, and then you're like, whoa. I don't know if you guys have seen that meme where like this guy's like walking in, I don't know what show it's from, but like he walks into like this party carrying like these pizza boxes, and then like everything's on fire and everybody's like going crazy, and then it says like the last 100 pages of every single Sarah J. Maas book, and that is so accurate. It was accurate with every single book in this series. From what I'm remembering from Throne of Glass, it's pretty much like that as well. So it seems to be a constant theme for Sarah J. Maas to be like, all right, we're gonna world build, we're gonna character build, we're going to build everything, and then the last 200 pages we're really gonna take off from there. All right, just give it 500 pages. Just give it 500 pages. And you might go into it thinking like, I don't want to dedicate 500 pages to this. But then when you realize how good it is after that, you're like, okay, this was worth putting in that effort. And this was definitely worth putting in that effort. I cried. I have a photo of me crying when we thought, you know, that thing was going to happen. We'll go into spoiler talk afterwards. But when we thought that thing was going to happen with Feyre, it had me bawling. I was bawling. And then the whole thing, I love like the relationship between like Gwen and Emery and Nesta. That was beautiful. And then when we found out about Cassian and Nesta, I mean, we all knew it was coming. Like, that was so predictable. And it was great. It was great. 5 out of 5 stars. This was great. This was great. Definitely not my favorite of all of them, but it's up there. So that is it. 5 out of 5 stars. All right, so getting into spoiler talk, I loved learning about like we all knew the Cassian and Nesta. They put so many hints throughout, even when Feyre's story was still the main character in the story, they dropped so many hints that Cassian and Nesta were going to be mates. Like, that was just so obvious for me from the very beginning. I was like, yeah, those two, it's gonna be them. And this was just so good. This was just so good. I'm excited for it. I wonder if, I have a feeling that Gwen and Azriel are going to be mates. Like the scene where Feyre was dying and then the baby was dying, I was crying so much. I cried so bad. I was screaming. My fiance ran and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, she's dying. She can't die. And he's like, what the hell? Like, I thought something happened. And I'm like, something is happening. It's crazy how fictional characters can have such an impact on you. But then Nesta saved her, and like the mother blessed her. So I wonder what that's gonna do in the future. And then they made so many hints of Nesta being High Queen. We talk so much about there has never been a High King since this. There has never been a High King since this. I have a feeling that Nesta's gonna be High Queen. She's gonna rule all the lands. And with her personality, I feel like she can do it. She can do it for sure. She can rule all the kingdoms for sure. And she'd be a good balance between like the human realms and the Fae realms, because she's both and she's still very tied to her humanity. So I have a feeling that's going to happen. So that's a theory of mine, but what do you guys think? So anyways, you guys, that is it. I finished the ACOTAR series. Holy ravioli. This is not in order. All right, that is not in order. We have, here we go, here we go, here we go, and here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. So if I were to rate this, so I officially finished this, yes. So if I were to rate these in order of how much I liked them, I'd have to say A Court of Wings and Ruin was like number 1. This was like top notch, my absolute favorite of the series. And then it was the first book. I know this is such like this is a book that everybody's like, you have to get past the first one to enjoy the story. And I'm like, no, dude, I read this one 3 times and I loved it. Okay, so this one is number 2. Then it's going to be A Court of Mist and Fury. That's going to be my 3rd favorite. And then it's going to be A Court of Silver Flames. And last but certainly not least, it's going to be A Court of Frost and Starlight. This wasn't bad. This was great. I still gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but it's not the best. So this is, all in all, this is my ratings for them. So Court of Wings and Ruin. This is God tier perfection. This is the one that I will pick up time and time and again. And A Court of Thorns and Roses is another one that I will pick up again and again and again, because we all know I've read this 3 times. So this is the only one that I've read before. Okay, you guys. So I loved this one. I love the first one. This one, just because like the first 250 pages or so were slow, but after that it really picks up. So that's going to be the next one. And then it's going to be A Court of Silver Flames. And then last but certainly not least, A Court of Frost and Starlight. So that is my ratings. So yeah. So that is it, you guys. that we finished it. Ah, heck yes, we finished it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you guys want me to do any more series. I'm thinking about doing the Zodiac Academy. I'm thinking about doing Throne of Glass because I've never read them physically. I've only ever listened to the audiobook, so I want to actually read them physically because I do better when I read them physically. Like, they stay in my mind more. So we will see. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for any popular book series that you'd like me to vlog. And I can't believe we did it. Like, I feel so accomplished. Yes. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post. I post twice a week. And then I put shorts throughout the week, usually. Sometimes. And I will also link down my Booktok, my Goodreads, so we can be friends on Goodreads, and my Amazon wishlist down below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!